This morning we're going to carry on, continue with chapter 38. Namo fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds or millions of eons. I now see it, hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Dharma. He takes the body mind as one kind of reliance, for he can never forget it. He takes good spiritual advisors as one kind of reliance, for he can be one with them in harmony. He takes roots of goodness as one kind of reliance, for he can cultivate, accumulate, and nourish them. He takes paramitas as one kind of reliance, for he can perfect them. He takes Dharma as one kind of reliance, for he can gain ultimate transcendence. He takes great vows as one kind of reliance, for he can develop Bodhi. He takes practices as one kind of reliance, for he can accomplish every aspect of his cultivation. He takes bodhisattvas as one kind of reliance, for he can gain wisdom identical to theirs. He takes making offerings to Buddhas as one kind of reliance, for he can purify his faith. He takes Tathagatas as one kind of reliance, for they can teach him ceaselessly the way benevolent fathers can. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would succeed in taking the Tathagatas and surpass great wisdom as reliance. Disciples of the Buddha, a bodhisattva, mahasattva, has 10 kinds of wondrous and special thoughts. What are the 10? They are as follows. He thinks of all roots of goodness as his own roots of goodness. He thinks of all roots of goodness as seeds of Bodhi. He thinks of good beings as vessels of Bodhi. He thinks of all vows as his own vows. He thinks of all dharmas as transcendence. He thinks of all practices as his own practices. He thinks of all dharmas as Buddha dharmas. He thinks of all modes of languages as ways of verbal expression. He thinks of all Buddhas as benevolent fathers. He thinks of all Tathagatas as one. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would attain unsurpassed skillful thoughts. Disciples of the Buddha, a bodhisattva, mahasattva, undertakes 10 kinds of practices. What are the 10? They are all practices regarding beings in order to bring them to maturity. All practices regarding the pursuit of Dharma, in order to study and practice them all practices regarding roots of goodness, in order to learn wisdom, all practice regarding samadhi, in order to be single-minded without distraction, all practices regarding wisdom, in order to comprehend everything, all practices regarding spiritual powers, in order to make transformation with total ease, all practices regarding cultivation, in order to reach accomplishment, all practices regarding the Buddha lands, in order to adorn them, all practices regarding good friends, in order to respect and make offerings to them, all practices regarding the Tathagatas, in order to revere and serve them. These are the 10 if every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will succeed in the practices of the Tathagata, practices that are aligned with the unsurpassed and great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of good spiritual advisors. What are the 10 they are? Good spiritual advisors who cause him to abide in the Bodhi's resolve. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to give birth to roots of goodness. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to cultivate all paramitas. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to understand and explain all dharmas. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to lead all beings to maturity. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to attain divinity and eloquence. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to detach from all worlds. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to tirelessly cultivate throughout the kalpas. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to abide in the conduct of universal worthy. Good spiritual advisors who cause him to enter where all Buddha's wisdom enters. These are the 10 disciples of the Buddha. A Bodhisattva Mahasattva applies 10 kinds of diligence and vigor. What are the 10 they are? Diligence and vigor in teaching and transforming all beings. Diligence and vigor in profoundly entering all dharmas. Diligence and vigor in purely adorning all worlds. Diligence and vigor in cultivating everything that the Bodhisattvas have learned. Diligence and vigor in eliminating the mistakes of all beings. Diligence and vigor in stopping the sufferings of the three lowly paths. Diligence and vigor in destroying all demons. Diligence and vigor in serving as pure and clear as for all beings. Diligence and vigor in making offerings to all Buddhas. Diligence and vigor in pleasing all Tathagatas. These are the 10 if every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas. He would fully attain the paramitas of the Tathagatas, surpass diligence and vigor. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of attaining peace of mind. What are the 10 they are? Attaining peace of mind by abiding in and causing others to abide in the Buddhist resolve. Attaining peace of mind by ultimately freeing himself and others from anger and fighting. Attaining peace of mind by freeing himself and others from common and senseless dharmas. Attaining peace of mind by diligently cultivating and causing others to diligently cultivate roots of goodness. Attaining peace of mind by abiding in and causing others to abide in the path of the paramitas. Attaining peace of mind by being born in and causing others to be born in the Buddha's family. Attaining peace of mind by profoundly entering into and cause others to enter into the genuine Dharma and the nature of no self. Attaining peace of mind by not slandering and causing others not to slander Buddha Dharmas. Attaining peace of mind by fulfilling his 40 vows of all wisdom himself, and causing others to also fulfill their 40 vows of all wisdom. Attaining peace of mind by profoundly entering into all the Tathagatas, inexhaustible wisdom treasures himself, and causing others to also enter into the Tathagatas' inexhaustible wisdom treasuries. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dhammas, he would attain the peace of the Tathagatas unsurpassed great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of bringing beings to accomplishment. What are the 10? They are: bringing beings to accomplishment by giving, bringing beings to accomplishment by using his physical body, bringing beings to accomplishment by speaking Dharma, bringing beings to accomplishment by cultivating together with them, bringing beings to accomplishment by pure and non-attachment, bringing beings to accomplishment by lecturing and showing the Bodhisattva conduct, bringing beings to accomplishment by making a splendid appearance in all the worlds, bringing beings to accomplishment by the majestic virtue of the Buddha Dharma, bringing beings to accomplishment by various spiritual powers and manifestations, bringing beings to accomplishment by various subtle and skillful expedients. These are the 10. In this way, every bodhisattva brings living beings to accomplishment. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, upholds 10 kinds of precepts. What are the 10? They are: the precept of not giving up the Bodhi resolve, the precept of leaving behind the 2 vehicles, the precept of observing and benefiting all beings, the precept of guiding all beings to join in the Buddha Dharma, the precept of cultivating everything that the Bodhisattvas have learned, the precept of understanding that in respect to dogmas, nothing is attained, the precepts of dedicating all roots of goodness to Bodhi, the precepts of not being attached to any other Tathagata's bodies, the precepts of pondering dogmas and separating from grasping and clinging, the precepts of guiding the faculties by adhering to the precepts and proper deportments. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dhammas, he would attain the Tathagata's paramita of unsurpassed great precepts. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of knowing for himself that he will receive a prediction. What are the 10? They are as follows. By making the resolve for Bodhi with an extraordinary will, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By never disdaining and never giving up the Bodhisattva conduct, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By dwelling in all karmas and cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By cultivating Buddha Dhammas, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By having complete faith in the Buddha's teachings, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By cultivating all roots of goodness and bringing them to accomplishment, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By leading all beings to the Bodhi of the Buddhas, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By being in harmony with all good spiritual advisors, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By thinking of all good spiritual advisors as Tathagatas, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. By persistently safeguarding his fundamental vows of body, he knows for himself that he will receive a prediction. These are the 10 disciples of the Buddha. A Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 ways of entering into the realm of a Bodhisattva. What are the 10? They are entering through past vows, entering through practice, entering through amassing roots of goodness, entering through paramitas, entering through accomplishment, entering through different vows, entering through various understandings, entering through adorning Buddha lands, entering through the self-mastery of spiritual powers, entering through the manifestation of rebirth. These are the 10. By these, every Bodhisattva universally enters into the realm of the Bodhisattvas of the 3 periods of time. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of entering into the realm of Tathagatas. What are the 10? They are entering through boundless realizations of perfect awakening, entering through boundless turnings of the wheel of Dharma, entering through boundless expedient means, entering through boundless different voices, entering through boundless taming of beings, entering through boundless self-mastery of spiritual powers, entering through boundless various distinct bodies, entering through boundless samadhis, entering through boundless powers and fearlessnesses, entering through boundless manifestations of nirvana. These are the 10. By these, every Bodhisattva universally enters into the realm of the Tathagatas of the 3 periods of time. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 ways of penetrating the activities of beings. What are the 10? They are penetrating the past activities of all beings, penetrating the future activities of all beings, penetrating the present activities of all beings, penetrating the wholesome activities of all beings, penetrating the unwholesome activities of all beings, penetrating the mental activities of all beings, penetrating the activities of all beings' faculties, penetrating the activities of all beings' understandings, penetrating the activities of all beings' afflictions and habits, penetrating the activities of opportune teachings for all beings. These are the 10. By these, every Bodhisattva exhaustively enters into the activities of all beings. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of entering worlds. What are the 10? They are by entering into contaminated worlds, by entering into the pure worlds, by entering into small worlds, by entering into large worlds, by entering into worlds within dust particles, by entering into subtle worlds, by entering into downward-facing worlds, by entering into outward-facing worlds, by entering into worlds where there are Buddhas, by entering into worlds where there are no Buddhas. These are the 10. By these, every Bodhisattva universally enters into the worlds of the 3 periods of time. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of entering into kalpas. What are the 10? They are by entering into past kalpas, by entering into future kalpas, by entering into present kalpas, by entering into countable kalpas, by entering into uncountable kalpas, by entering into countable kalpas as if entering into uncountable kalpas, by entering into uncountable kalpas By entering into all kalpas as you entering into non-kalpas. By entering into non-kalpas as you entering into all kalpas. By entering into all kalpas as you entering into one thought. These are the 10. By these, every bodhisattva exhaustively enters into all kalpas. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of speaking about the 3 periods of time. What are the 10? By speaking of the past period in the past period, by speaking the future period in the past period, by speaking of the present period in the past period, by speaking the past period in the future period, by speaking the present period in the future period, by speaking of the endlessness in the future period, by speaking of the past period in the present period, by speaking of the future period in the present period, by speaking of equality in the present period, by speaking of the 3 periods of time as one thought in the present period. These are the 10. By these, every bodhisattva speaks extensively about the 3 periods of time. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 ways of knowing the 3 periods of time. What are the 10? They are knowing the formations of all worlds, knowing the languages of all worlds, knowing the conversations of all worlds, knowing the rules of all worlds, knowing the names of all worlds, knowing the policies of all worlds, knowing the fictitious names of all worlds, knowing the abundance of all worlds, knowing the quiescence of all worlds, knowing the total emptiness of all worlds. These are the 10. By these, every bodhisattva thoroughly knows all the characteristics of the 3 periods of time. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, brings forth 10 kinds of tireless resolves. What are the 10? They are the tireless resolve to make offerings and serve all Buddhas, the tireless resolve to draw close to good spiritual advisors, the tireless resolve to seek the Dharma, the tireless resolve to listen to the proper Dharma, the tireless resolve to speak and spread the proper Dharma, the tireless resolve to teach and transform all beings, the tireless resolve to lead all beings toward the Bodhi of the Buddhas, the tireless resolve to practice the Bodhisattva conduct in each and every world for an ineffable number of kalpas, the tireless resolve to travel to all worlds, the tireless resolve to contemplate and ponder all Buddha Dhammas. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva would abide peacefully in these Dhammas, he would attain the Tathagata's tireless, unsurpassed, and great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of discerning wisdom. What are the 10? They are the discerning wisdom of knowing beings, the discerning wisdom of knowing the faculties of beings, the discerning wisdom of knowing the retributions of karma, the discerning wisdom of undergoing rebirth, the discerning wisdom of knowing worlds, the discerning wisdom of knowing Dharma realms, the discerning wisdom of knowing Buddhas, the discerning wisdom of knowing phenomena, the discerning wisdom of knowing the 3 periods of time, the discerning wisdom of knowing the path of linguistics and speech. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dhammas, he would attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed great discriminating wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of dharanis. What are the 10? They are the dharani of hearing and upholding, for he upholds all dhammas and never forgets them. The dharani of cognition, for he skillfully contemplates all dhammas according to reality. the Dharaniya refraction, for he understands the nature of all dharmas, the Dharaniya illuminating dharmas, for he illumines the inconceivable Buddha dharmas, the Dharaniya samadhi, for he fully listens without distraction to the proper dharma in the present time in all Buddha's races, the Dharaniya perfect sounds, for he clearly understands all inconceivable sounds and languages, the Dharaniya of the 3 periods of time, for he expounds the inconceivable Buddha Dharma of the 3 periods of time, the Dharaniya of various kinds of eloquence, for he expounds always Buddha Dharmas, the Dharaniya of having unobstructed ears, for he is able to hear the Dharma spoken by ineffable Buddhas, the Dharaniya of the Buddha's teaching, for he securely abides in the Tathagata's powers and fearlessnesses. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva wishes to attain these dharmas, he should diligently study and cultivate. Disciples of the Buddha, a bodhisattva Mahasattva, speaks of 10 kinds of Buddhas. What are the 10? They are the Buddha who attains proper awakening, the Buddha of vows, the Buddha of karmic rewards, the Buddha of journeying and maintaining, the Buddha of nirvana, the Buddha of the Dhamma, the Buddha of the mind, the Buddha of samadhi, the Buddha of the intrinsic nature, the Buddha of delighting everyone accordingly. These are the 10 disciples of the Buddha. A bodhisattva Mahasattva makes 10 kinds of resolves, like those of universal worthy. What are the 10? They are making a resolve to practice great kindness to save and protect all beings, making a resolve to practice great compassion to shoulder the sufferings of all beings, making a resolve to practice total giving, relinquishing his every possession, making a resolve to take all wisdom as foremost, because he joyfully seeks all Buddha Dharmas, making a resolve to become dignified with meritorious virtue, because he studies all Bodhisattva's practices, making a resolve to be like Vajra, because he never forgets it no matter where he is born, making a resolve to be like the ocean, because all that is pure flows into the ocean, making a resolve to be like the king of great mountains, because he endures vicious words, making a resolve to execute peaceful mind, because he gives fearlessness to all, making a resolve for ultimate prajna paramita, because he skillfully contemplates that dharmas have no existence. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these resolves, he would quickly achieve universal worthy wisdom of expedience. Disciples of the Buddha, a bodhisattva Mahasattva, cultivates 10 kinds of universal worthy conduct. What are the 10? They are universal worthy conduct of vowing to live through all future kalpas, universal worthy conduct of vowing to respect and make offering to all Buddhas in the future, universal worthy conduct of vowing to successfully lead all beings to cultivate universal worthy bodhisattvas conduct, universal worthy conduct of vowing to accumulate rules of goodness, universal worthy conduct of vowing to enter all paramitas, universal worthy conduct of vowing to perfectly fulfill the conduct of all bodhisattvas, universal worthy conduct of vowing to adorn all worlds, universal worthy conduct of vowing to be born in all Buddha lands, universal worthy conduct of vowing to skillfully contemplate all phenomena, universal worthy conduct of vowing to accomplish unsurpassability in all Buddha lands. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to diligently cultivate these dharmas, He was soon perfect, universal word, his conduct and vows. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, brings forth great compassion through 10 ways of contemplating beings. What are the 10? They are contemplating that beings have no reliance and no protection, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings' natures are untamed, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating beings are deficient in words of goodness, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings are asleep as if in the long night, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings are involved in unwholesome practices, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings are tied up by the fetters of desire, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings are sunk in the sea of rebirth, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings chronically undergo illness and suffering, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings have no appetite for wholesome dharma, so he brings forth great compassion. Contemplating that beings have lost sight of Buddha Dharma, so he brings forth great compassion. These are the 10. Every Bodhisattva constantly contemplates peace with these thoughts in mind. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of causes and conditions of making the resolve of Bodhi. What are the 10? They are: in order to teach and transform beings, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to eliminate the accumulated sufferings of all beings, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to bring ultimate peace and happiness to all beings, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to serve all beings, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to bestow the Buddha's wisdom on all beings, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to respect and make offerings to the Buddhas, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to follow the teachings of the Tathagata and please the Buddha, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to behold the unique superior features of the Buddhas, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to enter into the Buddha's vast wisdom, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. In order to reveal the Buddha's powers and fearlessnesses, he makes the resolve of Bodhi. These are the 10 disciples of the Buddha. When a Bodhisattva serves good spiritual advisors, if he makes the resolve of the unsurpassed Bodhi, in order to awaken to the wisdom of all wisdom, he should make 10 kinds of resolves. What are the 10? They are: the resolve to give and serve, the resolve to be joyful, the resolve to be obedient, the resolve to be compliant, the resolve to strive to be one with all, the resolve to be concentrated, the resolve to attain the same words of goodness, the resolve to make the same vows, the resolve to be like the Tathagata, the resolve to perfect the same practices together. These are the 10 disciples of Buddha. If a Bodhisattva Mahasattva were to make such resolves, he would attain 10 kinds of purity. What are the 10? They are: the purity of a profound mind, because he fulfills the ultimate state of indestructibility; the purity of the body, because he acts in accord with proper conditions; the purity of the voice, because he understands languages and speech; the purity of eloquence, because he is skilled at speaking the Buddha Dharma without bounds; the purity of wisdom, because he has relinquished the darkness of delusion; the purity of birth, because he fully possesses Bodhisattva's power of self-mastery; the purity of followers, because he has perfected the same rules of goodness as his fellow cultivators of the past. The purity of fruitions, because he has removed all karmic hindrances. The purity of great vows, because he has the same non-dual nature as all other bodhisattvas. The purity of practices, because he has transcended by means of universal word is vehicle. These are the 10 disciples of the Buddha. A bodhisattva Mahasattva practices 10 kinds of paramitas. What are the 10? They are the paramita of giving, because he can give everything he possesses. The paramita of serving the precepts, because he cultivates the pure precepts of the Buddha. The paramita of patience, because he practices patience like the Buddha. The paramita of vigor, because he never regresses in any of his undertakings. The paramita of concentration, because he concentrates single-mindedly. The paramita of wisdom, because he contemplates all phenomena as they really are. The paramita of knowledge, because he has entered into the Buddha's powers. The paramita of vows, because he has perfected the great vows of universal worthy. The paramita of spiritual powers, because he has manifested the full functioning of self-mastery. The paramita of Dharma, because he universally enters into all Buddha Dharmas. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would fully attain the paramita of the Tathagatas and surpass in great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of wisdom that align with awakening. What are the 10? They are the wisdom aligned with the awakening that all worlds are infinitely differentiated. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that the realms of beings are inconceivable. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that one enters into manifold dharmas, and that manifold dharmas enter into one. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all dharma realms are expansive and great. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all realms of space are ultimate. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all worlds enter into past worlds. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all worlds enter into future worlds. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all worlds enter into present worlds. The wisdom aligned with the awakening that all Tathagatas infinite practices and come to perfection through a single type of wisdom. The wisdom aligned with awakening that all Buddhas of the 3 periods of time attain transcendence through one and the same type of practices. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the brightness of self-mastery of all dharmas, and his vows would be perfected. Within one thought, he would understand the entirety of the Buddha Dharma and attain equal and proper awakening. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva, has 10 kinds of certified knowledge. What are the 10? They are the knowledge that all dharmas of one characteristic, the knowledge that all dharmas of infinite characteristics, the knowledge that all dharmas are one thought, the knowledge that all beings' mental activities are unimpeded, the knowledge that the faculties of all beings are equal, the knowledge of all afflictions and habitual activities of beings, the knowledge of all beings' tendencies and factors, the knowledge of all beings' wholesome and unwholesome actions, the knowledge of all bodhisattvas' vows, practices, kinds of self-mastery, how they uphold the teachings, and how they regulate beings, The knowledge of Tathagatas have perfected the 10 powers and attained equal and proper awakening. Speaking the exceedingly. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in this Dharma, he would attain expedient means in all things. Namo Sambanto Motodan Apalati Harto Chachanan Anchimi Chimi Danta Katana Moa Sante Palati Buddha Moda Moda Katana Moa Hom Pansa Namo Sambanto Motodan Apalati Harto Chachanan Anchimi Chimi Danta Katana Moa Sante Palati Buddha Moda Moda Katana Moa Hom Pansa Namo Sambanto Motoda Apolati Hato Chajanami Achimi Chimi Danta Katana Moa Shanti Polati Buddha Moda Moda Katana Moa Hom Pansa. Praise for the 8th assembly. In the assembly for the 3rd time in the Universal Light Palace, the myriad practices are perfectly cultivated. From Samantabhadra's vassal, 2,000 responses pour forth. In the ocean of suffering, he sails the boat of kindness. A single phrase totally encompasses all Dharma meanings together, yet all pervasive. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one as radiance with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find it, giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Nam mô Ta Phang Quang Phổ Hoa Yên Trì Hoa Yên Hải Huệ Phổ菩萨 We continue chapter 38 in the book, page 34, section 1.31. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, wonderful Dharma in hundreds or millions of years is difficult to encounter. I now see and hear it, receive it and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Flower Adornment Sutra, Transcending the World, Chapter 38. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva fathoms 10 kinds of equality. What are the 10? They are the equality of all beings, the equality of all dharmas, the equality of all lands, the equality of all profound minds, the equality of all roots of goodness, the equality of all bodhisattvas, the equality of all... Sorry. I'm sorry, starting from the 10 kinds of powers. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of powers. What are the 10? They are the power of entry into the self-nature of all dharmas, the power of entry into all dharmas as transformations, the power of entry into all dharmas as illusions, the power of entry into all dharmas as Buddha dharmas, the power of being free from the defilement of dharmas, the power of understanding all dharmas perfectly, the power of resolving to always respect good spiritual advisors, the power of having roots of goodness that successfully aid in attaining unsurpassed majestic wisdom, the power of having deep faith in all Buddha dharmas and never slandering them, the power of good skills, never retreating from the resolve for the Buddha's wisdom. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would attain the unsurpassed powers of the Tathagata. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva fathoms 10 kinds of equality. What are the 10? They are the equality of all beings, the equality of all dharmas, the equality of all lands, the equality of all profound minds, the equality of all roots of goodness, the equality of all bodhisattvas, the equality of all vows, the equality of all paramitas, the equality of all practices, the equality of all Buddhas. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the unsurpassed dharma dose of equality of all Buddhas. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva expresses the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma in 10 ways. What are the 10? They are as follows. All dharmas are made up simply of names. All dharmas are like illusions. All dharmas are like shadows. All dharmas arise simply from conditions. All dharmas are pure in karma. All dharmas are composed simply of expressions and words. All dharmas represent reality. All dharmas are devoid of characteristics. All dharmas have their ultimate meaning. All dharmas have their own dharma realms. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would be skilled at entering the supreme true meanings of the wisdom of all wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, A Bodhisattva Mahasattva speaks 10 kinds of Dharma. What are the 10? They are speaking the exceedingly profound Dharma, speaking the extensive Dharma, speaking all kinds of Dharma, speaking the Dharma of all wisdom, speaking Dharma that accords with paramitas, speaking Dharma that helps bring out the powers of a Tathagata, speaking Dharma that agrees with the 3 periods of time, speaking Dharma that enables the Bodhisattva to never retreat, speaking Dharma that celebrates the Buddha's meritorious virtues, speaking Dharma through which Bodhisattvas learn the equality of all Buddhas and the interoperative nature of the Tathagata states. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed skillful speaking of Dharma. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 ways of sustaining. What are the 10? They are sustaining the roots of goodness from accumulated blessings and virtue, sustaining the Dharma spoken by all Buddha Tathagatas, sustaining all parables, sustaining the portal of the true principles of Dharmas, sustaining the portal of the birth of all Dharanis, sustaining the practices of removing doubts and delusions, sustaining the practices that lead to the accomplishment of all bodhisattvas, sustaining the equality of samadhi doors spoken by all the Tathagatas, sustaining the portals of illuminating all dharmas, sustaining the Buddha's supremacy of playful roaming in spiritual powers. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed sustaining power of great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of eloquence. What are the 10? They are the eloquence of no differentiation in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of non-action in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of non-attachment in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of thoroughly understanding emptiness in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of not having any doubt or confusion in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of receiving the Buddha's support in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of self-awakening in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of skillfully differentiating words and expressions in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of speaking the truth in regard to all dharmas, the eloquence of according with all beings' minds, making them happy and joyful. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed, skillful, and wonderful eloquence. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of self-mastery. What are the 10? They are the self-mastery of teaching, transforming, guiding, and disciplining beings, the self-mastery of universally illuminating all dharmas, the self-mastery of cultivating the roots of goodness, the self-mastery of extensive and great wisdom, the self-mastery of according with the precepts, yet without clinging to anything, the self-mastery of dedicating all roots of goodness to Bodhi, the self-mastery of making progress vigorously and never retreating, the self-mastery of wisdom that crushes demons, the self-mastery of enabling beings to make the Bodhi resolve according to their inclinations, the self-mastery of manifesting the attainment of proper awakening according to those who should be transformed. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the self-mastery of the Tathagata's unsurpassed great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of non-attachment. What are the 10? They are non-attachment to worlds, non-attachment to beings, non-attachment to phenomena, non-attachment to actions, non-attachment to roots of goodness, non-attachment to birthplaces, non-attachment to vows, non-attachment to practices, non-attachment to bodhisattvas, non-attachment to Buddhas. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, He will quickly transform myriad thoughts and attain unsurpassed pure wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of impartial minds. What are the 10? They are the impartial mind in accumulating meritorious virtue, the impartial mind in making different vows, the impartial mind in regard to all beings' bodies, the impartial mind in regard to all beings' karmic retributions, the impartial mind in regard to all dharmas, the impartial mind in regard to pure and defiled lands, the impartial mind in regard to beings' understandings, the impartial mind in regard to practices without discrimination, the impartial mind in regard to the Buddha's powers and fearlessnesses, the impartial mind in regard to the Tathagata's wisdom. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these, he will attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed great impartial mind. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 ways of developing wisdom. What are the 10? They are developing wisdom by knowing all beings' understandings, developing wisdom by knowing the various differences of all Buddha lands, developing wisdom by knowing the differences and extent of all the nests in the 10 directions, developing wisdom by knowing about facing downwards, facing upwards, and all other worlds, developing wisdom by knowing the one nature, the different natures, and the extensive natures of all beings, developing wisdom by knowing all the different kinds of bodies, developing wisdom by knowing that the inverted thoughts of the world are nothing to which to be attached, developing wisdom by knowing that dharmas ultimately return to one single path that leads to transcendence, developing wisdom by knowing that the Tathagata's spiritual power can penetrate all dharma realms, developing wisdom by knowing that the seed of Buddhahood in all beings in the 3 periods of time is never lost. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would thoroughly understand all dharmas. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva carries out 10 kinds of transforming. What are the 10? They are transforming of living beings, transforming of their bodies, transforming of lands, transforming of offerings, transforming of voices, transforming of practices and vows, transforming of the kinds of teaching of beings, transforming of the attainment of proper awakening, transforming of the spoken Dharma, transforming all aided empowerments. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these Dharmas, he would fully possess all the unsurpassed Dharmas of transformations. Disciples of the Buddhas, a Bodhisattva is supported by 10 kinds of power. What are the 10? He is supported by the power of the Buddha, supported by the power of Dharma, supported by the power of beings, supported by the power of karma, supported by the power of practices, supported by the power of vows, supported by the power of states, supported by the power of time, supported by the power of goodness, supported by the power of wisdom. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will be supported by the unsurpassed sovereign power with regard to all dharmas. End of chapter 3, part 1. Transcending the World, chapter 38, part 2. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva feels great joy and reassurance in 10 ways. What are the 10? They are as follows. The Bodhisattva makes such a resolve. When every Buddha appears in the world throughout the future, I shall follow and serve him, making him elated. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: when these Buddhas, the Tathagatas, appear in the world, I shall respectfully make offerings of unsurpassed quality to them. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: when I make offerings to the Tathagatas, they will certainly teach me Dharma.
I shall listen to and accept the teachings with profound reverence and cultivate according to what they say, so that I shall have been born in the past, will be born in the present, and will become born in the future on the ground of a bodhisattva. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: throughout ineffable kalpas, I shall constantly cultivate the bodhisattva conduct together with the Buddhas and bodhisattvas. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: in the past, because I did not make a great resolve for unsurpassed bodhi, I had all kinds of fears. Fears such as the fear of not being able to survive, the fear of having a bad reputation, the fear of dying, the fear of falling into a lowly destiny, and the fear of facing the awesome virtue of the great assembly. Once I made my resolve, all these fears left me. I no longer became alarmed or afraid, filled with dread or fear, or became intimidated or terrified. Not one among the multitudes of demons and heretics could ruin me. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: I shall cause all beings to attain unsurpassed bodhi. Once they have attained bodhi, I shall, to the end of my life, cultivate the practices of bodhisattvas and the places of the Buddhas. With great faith, I shall offer all things to the Buddhas that should be offered to them. After their nirvana, I shall build uncountably many stupas to house their shariras and receive, uphold, and protect the Dharma that they have bequeathed. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: I shall adorn all the walls in the 10 directions with unsurpassed ornamentation that comes complete with every kind of extraordinary purity that is equal to each other. In addition, I shall use various kinds of outstanding spiritual powers to sustain and cause the world to quake, so that every place is brightened by lights. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: I shall end all beings' doubts and delusions, purify the minds of all beings who have desire for pleasure, unlock all beings' hearts, quell all beings' afflictions, close all beings' doorways to lowly destinies, and open all beings' doorways to great good destinies, shatter all beings' darkness and provide them with light, cause all beings to abandon the varieties of demonic influences, and enable all beings to reach the place of peace and tranquility. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva has this thought: all Buddhas, Tathagatas are like Udumpara flowers. It is difficult to encounter or see them even once in limitless kalpas. I should throughout future time be able to see the Tathagatas whenever I wish. The Buddhas, Tathagatas, will never abandon me, but will always dwell wherever I am, so I can see them. They will always speak Dharma for me without stop. After I hear the Dharma, my thoughts will be pure and free from flattery, becoming straightforward and guileless instead. In thought after thought, I shall see the Buddhas at all times. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Furthermore, he has this thought: in the future I shall become a Buddha. With the spiritual powers of a Buddha, I shall appear individually for all beings in the world, manifesting for them the realization of equal and proper awakening, and the pure and fearless roar of a great lion. I shall extend my original great vows to all places in the Dharma realms. I shall beat the great drum of Dharma, shower down the rain of Dharma, and generously proclaim the Dharma. Throughout infinite kalpas, I shall constantly explain the proper Dharma, sustained by great compassion. I shall never grow tired of doing these deeds with my body, mouth, and mind. Contemplating in this way, he feels great joy and reassurance. Disciples of the Buddha, These are the Bodhisattva Mahasava's 10 kinds of great joy and reassurance. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would be extremely joyful and reassured as a result of accomplishing the wisdom of proper awakening. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasava has 10 ways of profoundly entering into the Buddha Dharma. What are the 10? They are entry into all worlds in the past, entry into all worlds in the future, entry into the totality of presently existing worlds, as well as into the many practices, speeches, and purities in these worlds, immersing themselves in the various natures of all worlds, immersing themselves in the various karmic retributions of all beings, immersing themselves in the various practices of the Bodhisattvas, understanding the sequential appearances of all Buddhas in the past, understanding the sequential appearances of all Buddhas in the future, understanding the proclamations of Dharma and the guiding and disciplining of beings within the assemblies in all Buddha lands, in all spaces and in all Dharma realms throughout the 10 directions in the present time, understanding worldly Dharmas and the Dharmas of hearers, practical Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Tathagatas. He understands that there are no distinctions among Dharmas, yet he speaks all Dharmas. Because he enters into the Dharma realms without truly entering, he complies with the said Dharma without attachment. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva Mahasava were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would enter into the most profound nature of the great wisdom of Anuttara Samya Sambodhi. Disciples of the Buddhas, a Bodhisattva Mahasava has 10 kinds of practices upon which he relies as the basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. What are the 10? They are as follows. He relies upon making offerings to all Buddhas as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon guiding and disciplining beings as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon drawing close to good spiritual advisors as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon accumulating roots of goodness as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon purifying Buddha lands as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon not abandoning beings as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon profoundly grasping the Paramitas as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon perfecting the Bodhisattva vows as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon infinite Bodhi resolves as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. He relies upon the Bodhi of all Buddhas as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. These are the 10. Every Bodhisattva relies upon these as a basis for cultivating the Bodhisattva conduct. Disciples of the Buddhas, a Bodhisattva Mahasava has 10 ways of making fearless resolves. What are the 10? They are making the fearless resolve to wipe out obstructive karma, making the fearless resolve to protect and preserve the proper Dharma after the Buddha's nirvana, making the fearless resolve to vanquish all demons, making the fearless resolve to not begrudge his body and life, making the fearless resolve to destroy heterodox theories, making the fearless resolve to make all beings happy, making the fearless resolve to make all assemblies happy, making the fearless resolve to guide and discipline all gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and mahoragas, making the fearless resolve to leave the grounds of the two vehicles and to enter into the profound Dharma, making the fearless resolve to cultivate the Bodhisattva conduct throughout ineffable kalpas without becoming weary. These are the 10. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he will attain the Tathagata's great wisdom and fearlessness that are unsurpassed. disciples of the Buddha. A Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 ways of making resolves regarding the Buddha Dharma. Resolves free of doubt. What are the 10? They are as follows. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva makes a resolve like this: I shall gather in all beings by giving, and through moral precepts, patience, vigor, jhana, concentration, wisdom, kindness, compassion, joy, and renunciation. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his first resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: in the future, when the Buddhas appear in the world, I shall receive their instructions, follow them, and make offerings to them. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his second resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: I shall universally adorn all worlds with various rare and wonderful nets or light. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his third resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: I shall cultivate the Bodhisattva conduct throughout all future kalpas, throughout all dharmarins and reaches of space. Beings are innumerable beyond measure or bound, number beyond comparison, uncountable and indeterminable number, immeasurable and ineffable number, and ineffably ineffable number surpassing any quantification. I shall nurture them all to maturity by the unsurpassed means of teaching, transforming, guiding, and disciplining. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his fourth resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: I shall cultivate the Bodhisattva conduct, fulfill my great vows, be endowed with all wisdom, and abide peacefully therein. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his fifth resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: I shall cultivate the Bodhisattva conduct universally for all worlds, and be a pure and bright light of Dharma, illuminating all Buddha Dharmas. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his sixth resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: knowing that all Dharmas are Buddha Dharmas, I shall explain these principles to awaken all beings completely, according with their minds. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his seventh resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: I shall attain unobstructed entry into all Dharmas, because I know that hindrances are beyond reach. I shall remain like this without any doubt and dwell in the nature of reality up to the time I accomplish Anuttara Samya Sambodhi. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his eighth resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: since I know the Dharmas without exception are transcendental, I shall be free of all illusory thinking and absurdities. I shall become adorned by wearing a single adornment, and yet have no concept of being adorned. I shall awaken on my own without needing others. When he makes such a resolve, he is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his ninth resolve, a resolve free of doubt. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva again has this thought: with respect to all Dharmas, I shall attain the supreme proper awakening, because of being free from illusory thinking and absurdities, because of having attained the instantaneously interoperative wisdom, because of having realized the state of sameness and difference, a state beyond reach, because of not being bound by quantifications, because of having reached the ultimate state of the unconditioned, because of having transcended beyond words, and because of having dwelt in the realms of ineffable states. When he makes such a resolve, he He is determined without a trace or doubt. This is his 10th resolve, a resolve free of doubt. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these dharmas, he would be free from any doubt regarding the entire Buddha Dharma. Disciples of the Buddha, Mahasava is characterized by 10 kinds of inconceivability. What are the 10? They are as follows. Inconceivable are his roots of goodness. Inconceivable are his vows. Inconceivable is his knowing that all dharmas are like illusions. Inconceivable is his making the resolve for bodhi and cultivating the bodhisattva conduct without discrimination and without losing his roots of goodness. Inconceivable is his entry on dhammas without entering nirvana because he has not yet fulfilled all his vows. Inconceivable is his cultivating the bodhisattva path through manifestations such as the descending of his spirit, entering his mother's womb, being born, renouncing secular life, practicing austerities, going forth to the Bodhi Mandala, vanquishing demons, attaining the most supreme proper awakening, turning the wheel of proper Dharma, entering parinirvana, spiritually transforming with ease and without rest, and saving and protecting beings without abandoning his vows of compassion. So he can manifest the Tathagata's 10 powers in spiritually transforming with ease. He does not abandon teaching and transforming beings with a frame of mind equal to the Dharma. Inconceivable in that he knows that in all dharmas no marks are marks and marks are no marks. Non-discrimination is discrimination and discrimination is non-discrimination. Non-existence is existence and existence is non-existence. Non-action is action and action is non-action. Non-speaking is speaking and speaking is non-speaking. Inconceivable in that he knows that the mind is equal to bodhi and that bodhi is equal to the mind and that the mind and bodhi are equal to beings. Yet he does not become upside down in his frame of mind, thinking and viewpoints. In every thought he enters extinction and reaches the limits of samadhi, ending all outflows and yet foregoes the attainment of reality without cutting off roots of goodness with outflows. Although he knows that dhammas are free of outflows, he knows at the same time that outflows come to an end and become quenched. Although he knows that Buddha Dharma is just worry Dharma, and worry Dharma is just Buddha Dharma, he does not differentiate worry Dharma from Buddha Dharma, and does not differentiate Buddha Dharma from worry Dharma. He knows that all dhammas enter the Dhamma, yet there is no such thing as entering. He knows that all dhammas are non-dual and unchanging. This is the 10th inconceivability. Disciples of the Buddha. These are a Bodhisattva, Mahasava, 10 kinds of inconceivability. If every Bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these, he would attain all the supremely inconceivable dhammas of the Buddhas. Disciples of the Buddha. A Bodhisattva Mahasava has 10 kinds of ingenious and enigmatic expressions. What are the 10? They are ingenious and enigmatic expressions in all Buddhist sutras, ingenious and enigmatic expressions in all places of birth, ingenious and enigmatic expressions in all Bodhisattva's spiritual powers, transformations and manifestations of attaining equal and proper awakening, ingenious and enigmatic expressions in all beings' karmic retributions, ingenious and enigmatic expressions of the departments or purities to which every being gives rise, ingenious and enigmatic expressions in ultimately unobstructed entries into all dharmas, ingenious and enigmatic expressions throughout everywhere, not a spot untouched, in worlds that are developing or deteriorating throughout all of space, ingenious and enigmatic expressions from having seen individual Tathagatas manifest being born up to realizing Buddhahood and entering parinirvana, throughout the 10 directions of the Dharma realm, even in microscopic spaces. And the enlightened expressions from seeing that all beings nirvanas are equal and unchanging. He does not give up on his magnificent vows because he has not yet fulfilled his vow toward all wisdom. Ingenious and enlightened expressions from knowing that although no Dharma is realized through another, he does not abandon a good spiritual advisor. Instead, he becomes increasingly respectful when at the places of the Tathagatas and becomes identical with his good spiritual advisor. As he practices, accumulates roots of goodness, and dedicates merit while abiding peacefully, he becomes one in terms of the same actions, the same substance, the same transcendence, and the same accomplishment. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in them, he will attain the Tathagata's unsurpassed expressions that are ingenious, subtle, and enigmatic. Disciples of the Buddha. Bodhisattva has 10 kinds of skillful discerning wisdom. What are the 10? They are the skillful discerning wisdom of entering all lands, the skillful discerning wisdom of entering all places where beings are, the skillful discerning wisdom of penetrating all beings' mental activities, the skillful discerning wisdom of penetrating all beings' senses, the skillful discerning wisdom of penetrating all beings' karmic retributions, the skillful discerning wisdom of penetrating all hearers' activities, the skillful discerning wisdom of penetrating all solitary enlightened ones' activities, the skillful discerning wisdom of entering all bodhisattvas' activities, the skillful discerning wisdom of entering all mundane dharmas, the skillful discerning wisdom of entering all Buddha dharmas. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in them, he will attain the Buddha's unsurpassed wisdom of skillfully discerning dharmas. Disciples of the Buddha. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva has 10 kinds of entering samadhi. What are the 10? They are entering samadhi in all worlds, entering samadhi in the bodies of all beings, entering samadhi in all dharmas, entering samadhi while seeing all Buddhas, entering samadhi while dwelling throughout all karmas, entering samadhi upon making a pure and inconceivable number of bodies after having emerged from samadhi, entering samadhi in all Buddha's bodies, entering samadhi by realizing that all beings are equal, entering samadhi through the wisdom of all bodhisattvas samadhi in the manner of a thought, entering the samadhi autonomously accomplishing the bodhisattva's conduct and vows with his unobstructed wisdom in the matter of a thought. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in these, he will attain all Buddha's unsurpassed skillful ways of samadhi. Disciples of the Buddha. A bodhisattva Mahasattva performs 10 kinds of complete entry. What are the 10? They are completely entering beings, completely entering lands, completely entering various features of worlds, completely entering fire disasters, completely entering flood disasters, completely entering Buddhas, completely entering adornments, completely entering the Tathagata's bodies of boundless meritorious virtue, completely entering all kinds of speaking of Dharma, completely entering all kinds of offerings to the Tathagatas. These are the 10. If everybody Sama were to abide peacefully in these, he will attain the means by which the Tathagata completely enters into unsurpassed great wisdom. Disciples of the Buddha, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva has access to 10 kinds of doors that lead to liberation. What are the 10? They are the liberation door of having one body pervading all worlds, the liberation door of displaying infinite kinds of forms in all worlds, the liberation door of all worlds entering one Buddha land, the liberation door of aiding beings everywhere in every realm, the liberation door of filling every world with all the Buddha's adorned bodies. the liberation door of seeing all worlds in one's own body, the liberation door of reaching all worlds in an instant, the liberation door of displaying all the Tathagatas emerging in one world, the liberation door of filling all Dhamma realms with one body, the liberation door of displaying in an instant all of the Buddha's playful roaming in spiritual powers. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in them, he will attain the Tathagatas unsurpassed liberation doors. Disciples of the Buddha, a bodhisattva Mahasava has 10 kinds of spiritual powers. What are the 10? They are the expedient wisdom power of recalling past lives, the expedient wisdom power of the uninstructed celestial ear, the expedient wisdom power of knowing the unimaginable kinds of mental activities of all other beings, the expedient wisdom power of the celestial eye that observes without impediment, the expedient wisdom power of displaying inconceivably great spiritual powers according to the thoughts of beings, the expedient wisdom power of appearing everywhere in infinite worlds with one body, the expedient wisdom power of entering unspeakably unspeakable number of worlds everywhere in an instant, the expedient wisdom power of producing infinite kinds of adornments to adorn inconceivably many worlds, the expedient wisdom power of displaying an inexpressible number of transformation bodies, the expedient wisdom power of displaying the attainment of Anuttara Samya Sambodhi in an inexpressible number of worlds, according to the minds of inconceivably many beings. These are the 10. If every bodhisattva were to abide peacefully in them, he will attain the Tathagatas unsurpassed great and expedient spiritual powers, which he manifests for all beings in many different ways, enabling them to cultivate and study. Namo Sammanto Modana Apola Dihata Chajanani Chini Chini Tata Tata Namo Vashanti Bola Di Uda Moda Moda Tata Namo Vahom Paso Namo Sammanto Modana Apola Dihata Chajanani Chini Chini Tata Tata Namo Vashanti Bola Praise for the 8th Assembly. In the Assembly, for the 3rd time in the Universal Life Palace, the myriad practices are perfectly cultivated. From Samatha Bhadra's vessel, 2,000 responses pour forth. In the ocean of suffering, he sails the boat of kindness. A single phrase totally encompasses all Dhamma meanings together, yet all pervasive. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds is one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may them eyes away satisfying reward. May all sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namaste.